April 16th, 2024, county commission meeting will come to order. The record reflects that all commissioners are present other than with Commissioner Peach, who can't be here today. We will begin with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. If anyone hasn't had a chance to read them or like to have pulled, we can do that.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Ross. Second. Commissioner Ross did second. All in favor of the motion to approve, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. The next item is the order of agenda. Do we have a motion on the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I would like to add Mr. Magnuson, planning and zoning at 7B.
And he has handed out something today for all of us that are guests, so. We'll come to that shortly. Then, given that, ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda as amended. I'll move. Mr. Rusted, Mr. Hagan second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed. And the consent agenda consists of bills that are paid, employee status changes, overtime, the March financial report, and gaming request from the Ashland Lions Club. Does anyone want any of those documents pulled for review? I'll move approval. None. We have moved motion from Commissioner Rusted. I think Commissioner Hagan was right there with a second. All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pass. All right, we are at item 6. That the correctional center administrator.
Chair and members of the commission, thank you for your time. I will try to keep this brief. Last fall, Michael Dulitz and Tess Wall from Grand Forks Public Health before you spoke of the availability of opioid settlement funds, criteria for its use, and a desire to work with the correctional center, using the funds to assist in a substance abuse program at the correctional center in the development of continuing care program for individuals enrolled in an addiction program. Besides space, the biggest identified challenge for these programs was the lack of correctional officer staffing available to assist in the organizational movement, tracking, and assistance necessary for inmates and programming staff in order to run an efficient program. However, we do have an opportunity. After numerous meetings with Mr. Dulitz and Ms. Wall, and they're both here should we have questions of them, we have been able to identify and project that the available opioid settlement funds could assist in approximately 75% of the necessary funds needed to add an additional correctional officer position, 1 FTE, to approximately 2031. As you can see by the packet or that sheet that was in your packet here, the projection by Mr. Dulitz has projected an annual cost of actually 3.5% increase annually, not 3% as it states in that sheet, and 10% increase in health insurance. So the projection is trying to look at what anticipated costs are in the future and make sure that what we're showing you today doesn't short-sight ourselves in that manner. Note that these are only projections. With your approval, the Grand Forks County Correctional Center would move into an agreement with the Grand Forks Public Health Department, whereby an additional officer would be hired to assist in these programs, with approximately 75% of the cost to be paid by the Grand Forks Public Health Department utilizing these opioid settlement funds. The county would be liable for the additional 25%, or approximately $12,500 in salary and benefits for the first year. And as everything increases in the future years, it would increase, so it would be slightly higher as the years progress. The county cost for 2024 would be substantially less than the $12,500, I'm anticipating under 8,000 because a third of the year has already passed. Moving forward, the position could be budgeted, so coming in 2025, I could put it right in my budget. So in order to move forward, if it is the wishes of the board, I would ask that a motion be made to enter into an agreement with Grand Forks Public Health Department whereby the county would hire one additional correctional officer to support the substance use disorder program and addiction treatment program, supported by the utilization of dedicated opioid settlement fund dollars from the Grand Forks Public Health to fund approximately 75% of the acquired officer's cost. Agreement, of course, subject to approval by both the city and county's legal representatives.
Just a question,
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder. Would this correctional officer have training in handling this program?
Commissioner Ross, members of the commission, what we're lacking is just the physical bodies many times. To move people efficiently to the programs. We can't have programming staff waiting 20 minutes and such. For us to go get 8 different bodies, inmates and stuff to them. When they're done, we need to get them out of the building or we need to give them into a different classroom and so forth. And our staffing is not made for that. We physically don't have the staff to do that. So this would help to ensure that everything's efficient that way. It would also be utilized in the coordination of all the space that's necessary. So there's a lot of inmate movement, a lot of staff or programming staff movement. There's a lot of assessments and telehealth assessments, is that correct? That need to be done and so forth. So it's getting people moved around a lot. So they would be a full correctional officer, but they would be used not strictly, but a lot in this program to ensure.
But the person in the program, I can understand to fill a void within the correctional center, but would that person have the training in order to do that? Work with those people, inmates.
Commissioner Ross, I think we're going a little different directions.
Well, it's,
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, come on.
Commissioner Ross, members of the commission, just to clarify, this would be to allow private providers to come in.
okay,
So we've in the past had agency associates come in, they're able to get reimbursement for their services through the state substance use disorder voucher program. Which allows them to receive payment for the actual service, but they don't get paid for the time they get spent waiting.
okay,
And so when your reimbursement model is built around it going from client to client to client. If you are stuck waiting, that's a lot of money that you're losing.
sure.
And so, this is something to make it so it breaks even, makes sense for them to come in. And then we can,
Yeah,
keep that service.
and I think the reoccurrence of people coming into correctional center, a lot of them are drug orientated. So I think this is a great plus, so.
Mr. Ross, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I'm just curious, because to me, just, my knee-jerk reaction is this feels like almost like submission creep. Like, I'm not sure why county jail, in my opinion, is involving themselves financially with rehabilitation, because all the other resources that the county also funds, including your own program, to help rehabilitate these folks. I'm not really, maybe I just missed something during your original presentation, Mr. Burkholder, but I'm not understanding how this is the role of the jail to provide these services.
Being also outside source, right? It wouldn't be
But
coming
because-
inside the jail, it would be coming inside, yeah.
The funding mechanism, I guess, is my question.
Commissioner Russell, member of the commission, excellent question. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. The opportunity that county has at this time is the fact that we can have a program in the correctional facility for about $12,500, of which there's no question that a large number of the individuals that we incarcerate have substance abuse problems. We, as citizens of the county, are going to be paying for it whether they're in the facility or out of the facility. And we pay for it when we incarcerate them because of their substance abuse problems and the criminal activity they might be in while they're under the influence. So it's kind of, you know, the way you put the money over here, you put it over here. We're trying to intercede, and Agassiz is trying to help these people so that stop the cycle. And having a captive audience in a correctional facility, I won't speak for the providers, but I know I've heard it before. They know they show up because we go get them. It isn't that they have an appointment and they don't come to the Agassiz and they're just not there. We go get them because we know where they're housed and bring it right to them.
So how come there isn't a funding mechanism on behalf of Agassiz Public Health to just fill that gap and we just provide the opportunity for these inmates to receive those without coming to the county, it's already under financial strain?
Commissioners, I don't have an answer to that. I don't. We're not funded in such a way that I don't get dollars. The county gets dollars specifically for this. Agassiz's got an avenue which they can get paid for their services. The opioid settlement has an avenue of which we can get 75% reimbursement of our services.
Because we're utilizing, sorry, if we're getting a lot of these dollars from the opioid settlement money, right? It's just, there's a little bit on the top that needs to be added, so we can do something like this, right?
Commissioner Hagan, members of the commission, Mr. Hewitz have projected all of it. That's what this paper is here. And we believe that the opioid settlement dollar would cover 75% of the costs of the county's costs that assist in this program.
And I can just add a little bit.
Please.
Commissioner Hagan, Commissioner Rusted, so based off the amount that the county is getting, which is about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. There's a fair amount of money coming in on the front end, and then that number is going to keep going down. And one of the biggest challenges in any of the funding streams that we've been receiving is paying for employees. That you want to make sure if you're going to hire somebody that, we aren't going to come back to you in 2 years and say, well, the grant ran out and now we're asking you to fund this position. We wanted to make sure that we had funding for a long period of time. And so we didn't have enough to cover. If we did a full FTE, we'd be running out of money in 2 to 3 years, or we'd be constantly running out of funds, waiting for them to build out, running out. And so if you get to that 75% was kind of that crossover point where we have funds for a good 6 years to pay for that correctional officer. The challenge for us when we were discussing this was, well, how do you find a 0.75 FTE correctional officer that's going to be willing to be there essentially 8 hours a day based off of the schedule at the facility? Because there's, the middle of the day when they do lunch, when the facility's on lockdown. And so then you can't have outside providers coming in. And that's just part of the routine of the facility, and that makes, that does make sense for that.
So concern on your end, and the reason for the ask is that you're worried that those dollars might not be consistent enough to provide this long term, and you want to continue, you want to make sure that it's not like a 1 or 2 year program, it's something that continues.
Correct, so.
How confident are you that 75% number will continue on past 5 or 6 or 7 years or whatever MVP?
So Commissioner Russ said, the 5 to 6 years is the highest confidence, and then that number is going to be decreasing. The impact would potentially be decreasing as well. So I wanted to make sure that at least a good amount of time, before we had to reassess. But at least, that's much more than most other grant funding opportunities that we see, so.
And do you have this budgeted, Mr. Burkholder?
Commissioner Rusted, members of the commission, the 12,500 that would be an annual cost the first year. I do not have it budgeted. It'd be 8,000 roughly. I'm thinking this year. I would propose I would use the money that I already have budgeted in staff, which I haven't been able to hire, so it would not have it. I don't need another 8,000 put into my budget. I just need approval to have this body.
Alright. I've got a couple questions. First of all, is it a voluntary program for the people who are in there? And how long do they have to be around to benefit from the something they'll get?
Commissioner, again, the program is voluntary, and so there's it doesn't depend on how long you're in, because there's steps that you can take at each point that's gonna put you in a better spot when you leave. So the first step in the program is screening, so they screen if you need substance use disorder care, that you need treatment. That's a 20-minute thing. And then they decide, okay, you need that care, we're gonna submit paperwork to the state to get this funded. The next thing is the assessment. The assessment takes about an hour, and that's one-on-one with an addiction counselor. That's one of the tougher spots for anybody trying to get care for addiction counseling, because it's a one-on-one thing. And so you have to find an addiction counselor that has the time. And then that can be used at multiple different facilities. So say you wanted to go to a place in Bismarck after you're done here. You could take that assessment done by Agassiz and then go to a facility in Bismarck for treatment, for instance, if you were released right after that. The next opportunity in there is to start the group treatment. And so they'd be able to do what they call low intensity outpatient treatment. And then that's between 3 and 9 hours per week. And that the way Agassiz's curriculum is set up, it's a rolling curriculum. And so you could be, in the facility on Tuesday, had your Monday curriculum, be in the facility and released on Tuesday and continue that curriculum at Agassiz at Wednesday. You may have just some slight repeating, but the way that the rotation of the curriculum works, that you basically be able to plug right into the same work that they're doing, on their normal groups on, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday night, so.
And how do you measure the success of this program? What kind of statistics do you have of how well it's working?
Commissioner, and prior to the pandemic, we had gotten about 6 to 8 months, I remember, if I believe, before the pandemic hit. And so we didn't have enough time to get together, the data systems to kind of measure the outcomes. But we did have a lot of support from the judges. So we do have a letter of support from the chief judge saying that this program was very helpful for them the first time around. And then we tried to get it started back up, and then we just were running into those issues with movement of individuals. There would be, we'd certainly be able to provide numbers on, the number of people treated. We'd be able to look at the number of people actually completing treatment at Agassiz Associates, the number of people, leaving with, with some sort of concrete steps done. And there would be a possibility that we'd be looking into drug court and things like that, into outcomes there as well, with the help of a judge, potentially.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah, Lucas?
Mr. Burkholder, is the motion to hire a full-time correctional center officer? Or is it an Agassiz Associates? Or paying an Agassiz Associate to come in?
So, as Nelson, I would ask that if it's the wishes of the board, that we increase my FTE by one, which 75% of that FTE is going to be paid through the opioid settlement funds. The county would be on the hook for the other 25%, is what it amounts to. The services to be paid through the voucher system with Agassiz, so the county doesn't have to pay for any of that. All would pay for it would be the staff time for that quarter of an FTE. But it will allow Agassiz to come in and their addiction counselors and so forth to provide these services to the number of people in the correctional facility who can use them.
And assuming good faith in Mr. Burkholder's funding mechanism. Putting into his budget next time around.
Can I say one more thing? I want to make sure that I'm totally transparent. I can absorb it, would absorb it in like $2024. But I would be putting in that quarter of an estimate, like 25 budget. I don't know if I would do on that.
We could require approval anyways.
Right, it still has to go before you get later this year.
With that understanding and good faith, I mean, it's a
Second. Yep. Mr. Russ. Mr. Russ, if you can get these up. Any further discussion? Not? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sarah Schneider.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the commission. What I come today with is the recreational boat safety grant that the sheriff's office puts in for every single year. What this is it's a 50% match. This year, if the chair signs and commission agrees to accept the grant, we will be awarded $4,961.50. Every single year we budget for this in our water safety budget line. What the funding is used for is actually boat safety patrol and other boat safety activities, along with some additional equipment this year. One of the pieces of equipment that was requested is another, it's a fishing radar, but they use it to find people underwater. So it works pretty well, even better to find bodies than it does fish sometimes. But the grant, actually, the money for patrol has been pretty successful. When we've used it the last few years, we didn't get out and get a lot of patrol in. We've been more proactive with it, but last year, they were actually able to rescue a few kayakers from the river rental downtown here. So they just happened to be out on patrol and saw some people floating or trying to get to shore with a upside down kayak. So it has been fairly effective last year as far as we're considered. So what I'm requesting is a motion for the chair to sign on page 6 and 7 of the award.
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion? Mr. Rustic, Mr. Hagan. All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
I have nothing further.
Signature places?
Fix and that.
Yeah,
I have page 7.
What?
I don't have page 7 marked.
Oh, but, oh, it's right
But you're
here.
into that.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's still. Mr. Magnuson.
Chair, member of the commission, I have one item for you today that provides staff report prior to the meeting there. The request is to consider the application of Paul Sandstrom for the plat of Sandstrom addition. It's just 2 lots on 12.2 acres. Property is located in section 36 of Pleasant View Township. Sandstrom is an owner and applicant. The fourth plats located at the intersection of County Road 3 and 6th Avenue Northeast. For reference, City North was located 11 miles to the southwest. Property currently is a dwelling and a couple of outbuildings on it. Surrounding land uses are agricultural lands and rural residences. According to our land use plan, it's located within our agricultural area. And Sandstrom addition does conform to the goals policy within the land use plan under our zoning ordinance. It is in an A1 agricultural preservation district. All the lots and building envelopes of the proposed plat do conform standard to this district. As far as the background, the plat consists of 2 lots, 5-acre lot, 7.2 acre lot respectively, and the purpose is to split the parcel for a second home site. Lot 2 would contain the existing dwelling and the outbuildings. Lot 1 would be vacant, where presumably a home will be built later this year. Both lots would share the existing access to County Road 3. No additional accesses would be permitted. Pleasant View Township recommended approval with no conditions. As far as the county highway department recommendations, county engineer requested additional 15 feet of county road easement to be shown on the plat, consistent with our other requests. Currently we're at 60. This would bring us to 75 feet, which is consistent with everything else we've done. He also supports the shared driveway location. Staff has no other concerns, and all subdivision and zoning regulations are being met. The attached plat drawing has been amended to show the additional 15 feet of county road easement. And the planning commission recommended approval of the requests today at their planning commission meeting with no conditions, with that, I have answered questions.
I'll move approval.
Second,
Commissioner Rusted, Commissioner Ross, motion at the second. Unless there are any questions, we seem to vote, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Passed unanimously.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. West.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hammond, members of the board. Have two items for consideration and then, like to add one item here, I'll explain that here, but, we got around to, conducting interviews for our construction engineering for the Manville Bridge and our paving project. And if the board remembers, we had, Mr. Rusted was gonna be on the selection committee. There was a potential conflict of interest, so just to avoid anything, we did a swap and Commissioner Hagan stepped in and fulfilled that role. So the interview committee was, Commissioner Hagan, Scott Clayton, our project manager, and myself. There, for the paving job. Yeah, the paving project, the SC 18023. There were 3 firms submitted, WSB, CPS, and KOA. The interviews went well, all 3 firms would be qualified, would do an okay job. In the end, the interview committee did recommend CPS. Based on the ratings of the proposal and the interview. And with that, we would recommend approval for CPS to be the consultant on the mill and overlay construction project.
Any questions for Mr. West?
Actually, my question is for the state attorney. That company is my conflict of interest. Do I sit this one out, Ms. Longstead?
Excuse me, Commissioner Rusted, members of the board. If you believe you have a conflict of interest, I believe the process under North Dakota law is that you would inform the other commissioners. And it would be up to the full board whether or not that conflict could be waived.
Okay, well, they rent a space from me. That's where they operate out of.
It's up to you. We've got enough people to handle it if you.
I don't feel comfortable with it.
That's fine. I'll look at that.
Is that all right with you?
yeah, I would make a motion then to approve.
Like, hope you have a second.
I got a second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Passed, and with Mr. Commissioner Rusted, abstaining.
Thank
Next
you.
one.
The next one is for the bridge project by Manville on County 5. We only had one proposal submitted from KLJ. We did still go through the process, we reviewed the proposals and interviewed them all the same. We would recommend their approval.
Any questions?
so moved.
Mr. Ross? Mr. Rusted, second. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Pass unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
you have something else?
I do have something else that I would like to run through the board, so. Wonderful news, I had a flex fund. We had 2 projects selected that were awarded out of, I think we submitted 5 applications. The smaller one is a small structure just a mile west of Gilby. That would be, it's proposed to be constructed next year, so we got some time to deal with that one. But the main one, the big, huge one that we've been working for many years is the paving of Eagle Avenue on Route 25 east of the Reynolds Beach Pilar. And the board remembers we were gonna spend a bunch of CRADOG money on that before. And we didn't, well, we still will now because we got matching funds, and so we're gonna use some of those remaining funds for that. But so in the end, this worked out great because we did other stuff with CRADOG. Well, 8 big structures are getting put in with that, and the rest we can use here. Yeah, so the total project is estimated, total construction job is estimated 5.8 million. We proposed an 80-20 split and we got that 80% at 4.7 million. We're still waiting for the actual contract from the state. The state is gonna enter into one contract. And they picked Grand Forks County to be the lead on it. So we're waiting for that to come. And then also, the staff thought it'd be a good idea to have an agreement between Grand Forks County and Trail County as to what the expectations are, who pays what and everything. So luckily, Trail County just had the exact same similar idea and agreement with Polk County on the new bridge that's currently being built across the Red River between those two counties. So we got a copy of that, modified it. Our state's attorney Wamstead has already reviewed it. And the state's attorney in Trail County has already reviewed it. I'm not ready to bring it to the board here yet, but I think that definitely needs to be part of the packet and a little more scrutiny on that, but go through the proper steps, and we have time with that portion. So our goal is to bring it to the next commission meeting for consideration. The one thing I'd like to do now is, yesterday I got a contract from KLJ to do the preliminary design engineering, so we can get this project going and get bid. $80,000 contract that we would split 50% with Grand Forks County, 50% with Trail County. Trail County did approve that this morning at their meeting at 9 o'clock this morning. I just got it yesterday, didn't get in the packet. I don't know if anybody wants to see a copy of it or if you'd be willing to approve it. We were hoping that they could get on this right away, because we're really concerned about the timeline of getting this project bid this year. So our goal is, like, if it's approved today, they would start doing some finished survey tomorrow, start working on the plans. They're like, well, we'll work a bunch of overtime to get it done, and then hopefully by next meeting, we would have the DOT contract. And then we can start bidding the job out. If we don't have the DOT contract, we can still start advertising for bids. But that only gives us about another 2 weeks. So the bottom line is, we cannot enter into a contract with a contractor until we have our county state contract done. So there could, depending on how that window works. We'll just have to see, but we're taking a leap of faith and we're gonna start designing it, or would like to start designing it. The thing with the project is, so there's some moving parts here, is one, in our application, we told the state that this thing's ready to go. And it is, the permitting is, we don't need any big permits or anything, all it works fine to the top of the road. We don't need a 404 permit or water commission permits or anything like that, so that standpoint, we're good to go. But if we don't get it done this year, then I personally, I think it would look poor. At least if we can try. When the state legislature comes into session next year, January, that it's not done. So our thought is, let's try and bid it. If for some reason, due to the tighter schedule, the bids come in really high and or we don't get any bids, well, then we'll deal with that at that time. In worst case scenario, we'll rebid it again next winter and have a better schedule in place. But we'd really like to try and swing for the fences and see if we can get it done this year yet. So, but that means we're ideally entering into a contract. We have first meeting in June is what it would be, and then that gives the contractor June, July, August, typically September a little bit to get it done. So hopefully there's a contractor out there that's still looking for some work and a bigger job. Need a lot of work, but we're proposing, I think it's about 8 or 9 inches of gravel on geogrid with 5 inches of asphalt, I believe, so it's a lot of truckloads.
So one question I have is, and I think you answered before the meeting, but we hadn't approved KLJ yet on this project, and apparently we don't need to bid it to any other engineering firms. Is that accurate? Maybe Ms. Wamstead.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I believe that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's my understanding too. We do not have to do an RFP.
No.
And another curveball here in our situation, but Trail County hires KLJ for everything.
Oh, okay.
They only go to RFP when they absolutely have to. which means federal funds.
Any
Because
questions?
it's not got federal funds.
Not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Ross, second, Mr. Hagan, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. West.
That is all I have today. Any questions for me?
So who's gonna be handling the public health? Mr. Ross?
As you're well aware, the city was talking about moving the public health department out of this building. Over to Franklin on Fourth. And I guess it's kind of my opinion, I would like to keep the health department here. I think they provide a valuable service, not only to the county, but the city. And there's a couple different agencies within this building that I think rely on them a little bit. And my proposal to keep them here is, basically, they would stay and we would not charge them rent to stay in this building. And it would not include anything to do with the sheriff over in the police department building. This would just be a contract for them to remain in this building and not to charge the city of Grand Forks any rent for them to be here, so.
Mr. Chairman, member of the commission, what we have scanned in for the public health rent is what we were provided by public health, last week. They have revised these figures slightly. This is the amount that we would be charged rent. And it has been reduced from 82,343.25 to 80,919.51. Just so you know, if they move out of here, that's what we would have to pay.
If it stayed here,
Plus camp charges that are not in here, so this is not all of it either.
Yeah. And the fees that we currently split between the city and the county of Grand Forks would remain. It's just that they would not be charged rent to be in this building.
so if they were to leave, if they stayed, they don't pay anything, but we don't charge anything either. I mean, anywhere else. If they leave, we would be asked to kick in rent for where they're going.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's $80,000 savings by giving them.
Sounds like, I don't know, doesn't sound like a great plan to me.
Yeah. And I'd actually put that in the form of a motion.
All right, what's the motion?
For the health, Grand Forks City County Health Department to remain in the county office building and not to charge them any rent. They're drawing up a contract to that effect. And as far as the what occurred before with the fees and everything that were split between the city and county, that would be drawn up in the contract, so.
Okay, so whatever fees have been going on so far would be memorialized in the contract. What would the length of the term be?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that you have to say that, because
No.
you can make another motion later to say now we're charging rent or changing.
So we're kind of on a year-to-year tenancy as we're not.
I think-
Not even that. but-
Mr. Chair, there's a reciprocal lease agreement currently between the city and the county, says the sheriff lives in the PD building rent-free, public health lives here rent-free. Regardless, when the sheriff moves out, we have to update that, whether it's to terminate, whether it's to update and have it just be for public health, so. In talking with Commissioner Ross, when the time comes, we would terminate the reciprocal lease and enter into a new lease with Grand Forks City for public health. To remain until really commissioner city discretion at no rent charge.
That's the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Hagan? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? None and it passed.
I guess I'll just add one thing on the back end of that, I noticed that one thing. I think our jobs are always to go for the taxpayers' wallets and to go from not paying, to paying. To me, it's the largest no-brainer. So
It looked to be all this.
probably wasn't a big surprise. I went that way to you, Mr. Henning.
All right. Mr. Ford.
Yes.
Yeah, the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. We can table the Northeast Human Services Amendment. I found out earlier that they would, even if you acted on this one today, they'd be sending another amendment or my way in a few weeks. So I asked them, let's table this one and just do one amendment. So that'll come later.
Right.
Commissioner Ross did ask that I provide the board an update regarding the committee sharing and appointed to solve the sheriff's space needs. So had some very good discussions overall on where to go. I sent out a note to the commission earlier. I'll just review some of the takeaways for the board's awareness, and then we'll be asking for some direction from the commission as well to move forward. A lot of options been on the table, as you know, but significant conclusions that the committee has come up with. The county, there's been talk about a P3, public-private partnership, lease to own. Per Ms. Wamstad, the county cannot enter into a lease to own is the key word, over $4 million. If the county were to do so, it would have to put a referendum and the people would have to approve any lease to own over $4 million. So that'd have to be a vote. The county can enter into a lease with an option to own, so a 25-year lease with an option to walk away, renew the lease, or purchase whatever facility. The county must utilize an architect and or engineer, and if the project is over $200,000. I visited with the zone. I always want to say social services, the zone, about potential of the sheriff's office being in the Cobb. They didn't have concerns that's typical in other counties. However, the Department of Health and Human Services has, to quote them, significant concerns about that potential for a number of reasons. Mainly, it would be due to the services they provide and the clients. And they can see some concerns with the law enforcement presence and that clientele. So what matters to the commission is referendum, lease to own over 4 million. If the county wants to build or significantly build or any kind of campus, you're looking at going to the people asking to raise the capital construction mill levy limit or a sales tax to fund it. Those are your options if you want to stay under that 4 million cap or lease with an option to own. The recommendations coming from the committee to the commission, we would need some direction regarding a referendum. Is that even a possibility? Is there an appetite from the board to go to the people for any of those other options we discussed? The committee's recommending that we strike the county office building as an option for the sheriff. And then due to the number of community members, contractors, realtors reaching out to myself, Sheriff Schneider, and others, we think that a request for information should be published. You still have the remodel option on the table for the old jail, so an RFI for a remodel, a lease with an option. Maybe the commission is still interested in a build. We know that building something just for the sheriff would be around 13.5 million. And I would leave to Ms. Nelson the details on the funding and the room there is for the mills.
The question of that one wasn't the 10 million for the building, but 13.5 if we included that its term.
That's correct. Oh, no, if you wanted to build and include the state's attorney, it would be 22 million. That was JLG's estimate. So right now, JLG estimates renovating the old jail would be around 10 million, but that's what we would hope an RFI would accomplish, is to get a more firm estimate on what that would look like, what that would be. And then we'd like to issue a request for qualifications for realtors, because there is an appetite to look at purchasing an existing site. However, after a discussion with the committee and Ms. Wamstad, we should put out a request for qualifications for qualified realtors. What's their fee structure? what are their qualifications in selling commercial real estate? So those are the recommendations, but we would like some more direction from the commission in which way you'd like us to go. And maybe just starting with the referendum discussion, is that even an appetite? Should the committee pursue anything that would require a referendum?
All right, Commissioner Rusted.
If I may, this is a question for Mr. Ford and Ms. Nelson. So these RFIs that we'd be putting out. Can we make them, because. None of us here know, maybe somebody's got an idea we haven't even thought of yet that's. Even more palatable to the taxpayer than what's here. Is there a way to make it like vague enough where like, just give us your thoughts, like what can you provide if we give them like parameters, like we need. This much parking, we need this much garage space, we need this many square feet. Maybe someone's sitting on a building they're not using for much with a few old jet skis in it, that you just never know, right? And if they see it in the newspaper for 3 straight weeks, they might go, I got an idea. And furthermore, that's one. Engineering or well, engineering consulting and architecture firm opinion on price. There's no reason to believe that that's what everyone else is gonna come in at unless we announce a budget, right? And so I would ask that we put out the RFIs with no mention of any budget and just see what the local builders and et cetera come up with. Realtors, and then maybe the real estate RFI could be a fully separate one.
I think it should be a separate one.
It should be, and Commissioner Rusted, so I think that's doable, I defer to Ms. Wamstead on that, but. For a request for information, we could just set, like you said, here's what we're looking for. This size building, this amount of parking spaces, preferred location, and then see what what gets submitted to us. I think then that committee would go through those responses and see what the most palatable option is to bring back to the commission, with the commission having the ultimate
Could
say.
we do like a plus or minus? Like for instance, let's just talk about parking spaces. Let's say ideally Andy Schneider wanted 20 parking spaces. Could we say, anywhere between 10 and 30 parking spaces, so that, or same with square footage, right? So we can get some in the neighborhood. Cause we can be nimble, right? We're in a financial position where, we kind of have to be. And see what comes up. That's my take on it.
We're not asking for proposals for specific projects, so just my opinion, I think it could be somewhat nimble and set some parameters a little more generic.
Yeah, just loose fitting so that somebody's got a great idea, but doesn't quite fit in there by 1,000 feet or whatever. Well, no reason why they can't throw it out at us, you know what I'm saying?
Of course, Sheriff Snyder was on the committee, so. Gotta defer to what he needs.
I could work with Ms. Wamstead and Commissioner Rusted on a write-up for the RFI to make sure it's what we're looking for before it comes out.
Sheriff Snyder.
Chairman and members of the commission. I think we're all kind of in the same ballpark, and I have. Had some interesting conversations. I've had some common conversations with people. But kind of what we discussed about in the committee is we don't know what people will have, right? I would hate to put out an RFI and say, we need a building that is 12,000 square feet. Well, if you have one that's 20,000 square feet and we could potentially rent that out to another law enforcement partner, that'd be fantastic, right?
Yeah.
So, we really, I know GLG does great work, but maybe somebody's gonna cut every office size by 20 square feet and then you can get 5 more offices in there. We don't know. And by all the calls that I've been getting, there's a lot of people that have way better ideas than I do. I just kind of know what we're looking for, and there's a lot of people that are interested in the project, so. I think keeping it vague, as not to say we want to put a stamp on parking spots, but today we had 18 patrol vehicles and 7 support staff vehicles at the office. That's quick math, about 25. Rare, but it was briefing day today, so. But between public and private parking, that's usually covered, so.
with your cops, nobody's gonna pull your trucks for parking on the grass.
Hopefully we don't get those.
Right, so. We have figured out how to go about drafting an RFI.
Yeah, I'll work with the sheriff and Commissioner Rusted and Ms. Lomstead on some language for the RFI, and then I'd like to put out a RFQ for commercial realtor qualifications.
Do we need motions for put our RFI and RFQ?
I think so.
Nothing.
I don't,
We need motions on those. Maybe should we do it for information or qualification?
Right.
We can just do that by consensus, I think we need.
And should we do more than one RFI? If we're looking at a remodel of the old correctional center.
Yeah,
But then we also wanna know about the other spaces, just save some time, maybe we should have to. And give your ideas for other spaces, but we really wanna know how much this is going to cost as well.
That's a lot of stuff to do.
That's fair.
I support that.
makes sense.
We have to cast a pretty wide net right now, we want
Hmm?
to, you find, cast a wide net.
Yes.
Now.
But I do agree with Mr. Ford about this building, the office building. that
Yeah.
we're in.
We need a motion, well,
Just,
I guess we don't need a motion for that either.
I mean,
But I think the consensus is this is not the right place.
I mean, my concern is less about the agencies that exist within it, but are, you know, I think I was quoted with a paper for saying this, but I mean, are we gonna be $1.5 million down the road? And then all of a sudden, the state comes in because the state funds them now. The state comes in and says, you know what, you're done now. You're gonna put the cop shop someplace else. You know, and I just don't, and then what's to say we don't complete it, get the sheriff's department in here, spend the 3 million or whatever it is. And then later down the road, with those agencies, it's not working for them.
Yeah.
We still have to give them a space. And then, so then they come after we spend the full 3 million. You know, to me, that's a risk not worth taking in our financial position.
Commissioner Rusted, currently Northeast pays the county $536,296 a year in lease revenue. And then another $3,355 for another unfinished space. So that'd be a lot of revenue for the county to lose if they decided to find another location. That's true.
What with keeping public health in here, if they opt to go that direction, where's the space coming from anyhow? Yeah. And not adding on.
No, definitely.
The other direction is for the committee to try to pare it down. Any options that would provide a referendum? Is that a direction the commission wants that committee to go down or?
I don't think
I
that's
think that's a,
gonna be anything that we wanna
we
do.
know what happened with
Yeah,
that, just climate.
Yeah.
Mr. Ross,
I think as far as a referendum or a half-cent sales tax. I think at this time is null and void. I don't think we should even talk about it.
No.
I think people in Grand Forks are fed up with taxes, so.
I'll even make that as a motion.
Yeah. I'll second that motion.
do what?
Stop talking about referendums altogether.
We gotta rule that by the next meeting, but I think we're all in the same boat there.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense in the climate that's out there. And, you know. If we are sitting where we are, we'll have to figure out our financing. As we go forward. We always rely on Ms. Nelson to.
Yeah.
Pull a rabbit out of the hat for us.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, members of the commission, we are not, how do I put this nicely? Yeah, so I've heard that we don't have any money. The county has plenty of money and we have plenty of money to fund the things that we have. What we don't have is any levy authority to build another building.
Yeah.
So there is a distinction between the two.
Okay, well, let's see where these RFIs and RFQs go.
This is good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moving along.
That's all I have.
Alright.
Ms. Lundstedt, got anything for us today?
I do not, thank you.
Okay. Committee reports. Commissioner Rusted, for the end there.
Oh, me first, okay.
Yes.
we have our regular Tuesday morning, update on the correctional center and youth assessment center. Things are moving right along. They are going to start, in fact, Mr. West is gonna start putting some gravel down and some crushed concrete on the south road. Going to the racetrack on the south side of the correctional center, on Monday. Construction engineers gonna start working on that road on the north side. So that road will be done when the racing starts. And the racers won't know what to do because they're gonna have a paved road going in instead of having to wallow through all that mud to get to the fence, so. The other thing is, let's see, we had, our planning and zoning meeting just prior to the county commission meeting, which we just approved what we talked about, and other than that, that's it.
Mr. Rusted.
We've already discussed all that stuff, P and Z and the sheriffs, so. And
Okay.
curious, tomorrow we'll be talking about bridges and bike paths.
The library board, we just sent out a survey the past couple weeks to the community to talk about the future of the library, what they're gonna provide, what people want from the library, things like that. So we just wrapped that up 2 days ago, I believe, so probably talk.
That's all.
Yes.
And I had nothing except an EDC meeting that I attended earlier. And unfinished business, we have some documents here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, have a proposal for utility and street improvements, and you have a public comment period till May 10th. So if you have any
Just
comments about
informational?
that,
This is just information.
other than the fact that you have until May 10th.
Oh, yeah. Right. And then we received the card rebate.
Uh, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, our JP Morgan purchasing card rebate is $10,362 this year. The more it's used, the more we get back, and it's statewide. So I do have a list of other counties in the state that also use a JP card in their refunds, and ours was $8,947 last year, and it's $10,362 this
Wow. Did it just go to general fund or does it go to any special funds?
general fund.
General fund.
Yep.
Okay. And that,
Last item is the
oh yeah, insurance.
Yeah, we will not be getting any money back this year. We sent us a letter to tell us.
Anything else for the good of the organization?
Commissioner Higgins' turn.
We should go to Jerry.
Second. That's unanimous.
Off that.
Kimberly.
You almost